Good. Thank you.
Everything good?
Yes. How about you?
Yeah,
Where are you at?
I'm in Portugal.
Oh, do you pronounce your name Jorge?
It's George, like in English.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's more. Actually, the name in Portuguese comes from the English George. So,
Oh, cool.
yeah. So, how is everything with you? Busy promoting Triangulation?
Yeah. Yes, we're going to be setting up these drums. We're putting a new drum set up for a band in a few hours, getting ready for our full band rehearsal. So for the tour, and it's exciting. It's fun.
It's
We have
and then the solo record when you start working on the songs, was anything planned, like after you left Deep Purple, we know why you left Purple, uh, was music in your heads, you know after all this time, or it was, how did that came about really?
yeah. I'm always working on ideas. In fact, I remember I lived in the hospital for so long. I have a number of memos, recordings of memos to myself from the hospital. I remember that. Um, and some of those became songs on the album. But I have many more, on my computer that I had to choose from and work on. So it's kind of the normal process is I start with lots of bits and pieces. And then I invite Dave LaRue, the bass player, to come over. We live in the same town. And he comes over and I start saying, what would you think if I asked you to play this part? And he plays it. We try different fingers and get it to where it sounds the best. And I say, all right, well, I'm going to try this on top of that. And then I'm like, well, let's change your part from a F sharp to F natural there, and let's uh, change this voicing here, there, yeah, there we go. And now we do it again. All right, that sounded better. Let's make one more change. So it's slowly, bit by bit, it grows from little sessions like that.
Does it take
And
long
then,
to finish like a song?
yeah, it takes a long time because, there is no time constraint, you know. With an album like this, nobody's going to make any money. So it's not a business thing. There's no, in the old days, you had to have your act totally polished and worked out when you walked in the studio because it was so expensive to record. And now everybody can have a home studio that wants to, and the biggest expense is time. People don't want to spend time on things, but we have to make it sound good.
Yeah. And triangulation sounds, I have a soft spot for instrumental music, especially when it comes to guitar. And listening to you play, those melodies, it's not something that I see like new artists or a younger generation of guitar players being able to do. I'm not saying they're not able to do something like that, but there's very something unique from the old school guitar players that I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just you were always playing together, jamming with other musicians. I don't know, but there's something special when someone like you grabs a guitar and plays. It's a magical moment. And listening to this album, there's quite a lot of those little bits and pieces that, that's what I love about instrumental music and guitar players mostly. And you do it's amazing what you do on Triangulation.
Well, thank you. Well, I think being a composer first and a guitar player second, it makes the music have a little bit different direction than writing. I don't write everything on guitar. sometimes I'll just stop and listen to what I've got, and I say, I I'm hearing a different section, and I'm not playing on the guitar. I'm just hearing it, and so I say I need to try and develop something like I'm hearing in my mind, and so I piece it together, piece the parts together. So yes, they can be played on guitar and bass, or maybe guitar, bass, and some other guitars. I do that a lot with overdubs, and try to make a little chamber ensemble. Like, I think of Bach writing for a, a string quartet or a small chamber music group that would be the live music, in their day, hundreds of years ago. Instead of a jukebox, there'd be these guys playing chamber music.
But the chemistry, you can feel it on these records with Dave LaRue and with Van Romaine. It's just so enjoyable to listen to. I love to listen. I love to listen to bass, and the bass being played, as it should. I don't like the bass when it's just there in the background, like for the low notes. I like when it's playing harmonies, when it's playing, melodies, because it sounds really good. And Dave LaRue is just a freaking master at it.
Yes. And I write to his strength. Basically, yeah. If I know that Dave can do this, so I'm going to give him this part, and right here, let's try Dave playing the melody here, and then I'll try to play a real simple background to that, so the melody can punch through. And of course, he can solo as well as anybody can on a horn or a guitar. He's really, really amazing. And chemistry between Van and Dave is a thing. That is definitely a thing. I'm glad you noticed that, because when they get together and play on any kind of music, I just see them, little glances at each other, and and Dave won't have to say anything to Van, except he'll say, on that third bar, I need that kick before one, right? Said, yeah, I just forgot. That's as much as they'll talk about, just they know what they're doing. And we do talk more about the arrangements when Van's here. And these drums right behind me, we're going to put up a new set later today to get ready for the rehearsals. So
you're going to play a lot of songs from Triangulation and other stuff, maybe Dixie Dregs stuff, more solo stuff.
We got a Dregs tune in the set list. We got an extra guitarist, Angel Vivaldi. He's very versatile, very incredible technique player, but very musical. And he's going to be doing a lot of the parts that might be overdubs or second voices. So we're doing at least 3 tunes from the new album, and a few other tunes that I had recorded for the trio, but we never played live because I felt like they had too many other parts, to get that sound.
Yeah. So when you get in the studio or when you get on songwriting mode, do you try to make things simple in the sense of I need to be able to play this live, or you don't have that thought process? You just create what you think it's right and what the music or the melody calls for.
Yeah, we start with the recording. What we're making is a recording, and this part needs something. I'm going to try it, but I'm going to put a 12-string here, or I'm going to put the clean guitar from the classical here, or I'm going to put a synth there. Whatever it takes to get that feeling that I've got inside of knowing what I want. And then over the course of an album, we'll be able to find 4 songs that we can play from it, live.
Yeah.
So that's not a problem.
There's going to be some jams live.
I don't know. Yeah, we have some little jam sessions. One thing I learned about 50 years ago from playing live with the Dregs out for free, out in the open, and people would just walk by that had never heard of the band, or we'd be playing in a park somewhere, is that when we jammed for a very long time, more than about X number of bars of jamming, that people would walk away. When we played melodic stuff and there was counterpoint and great harmony changes, people would come and get closer. And if it was something exciting with melody, more people would come. So, not that we should make our art a certain way to only worry about attracting people, but that's just what I learned.
Yeah.
Is that long tunes don't work for people walking by.
Yeah.
And on this tune, we have an extremely long tune. It's 11 minutes long. So that maybe wouldn't be a good one to play outdoors when the audience didn't know you. But for this recording, I thought it was a neat variation. In other words, here's something we don't do normally.
Yeah.
But let's do it.
Speaking of the song, too many parts. I love the wording of it. When did you realize that there were actually too many parts and you had to stop?
Well, actually, I was working with Dave almost every day during that time. He would come in and we'd work out a new section, and I would record it and put it on his flash drive so that he could have a record of it. And we did this day after day after day. And then at night I would work on new parts for it. I remember saying, wow, this thing is getting on up there. That's over 5 minutes. And then, wow, this thing is almost 7 minutes long. Wow, I don't know what to cut out because we're at 8 minutes, and then, next week, I don't know, man, it's 9 something minutes, but I think all the parts are working. And this thing is almost 10 minutes long, and I don't know what I'm going to cut out. I don't know what to do. And then finally, I think it's 11 minutes long, and we're just going to have to leave it like it is.
And he did well because it works. It doesn't feel, the magic of being able to make a long song. And that's what I admire about some prog bands, is they can make a long song without it sounding too long. And this one, it's one of those songs that takes you on a journey, and it doesn't sound like 11 minutes. You listen to it, and all of a sudden it's over. And not everyone has that magical touch to create something like that.
Well, thank you. That's a big compliment. I also agree that if you have enough variety of parts, of sections, and they flow into each other, and for rock, things don't always have to flow perfectly. Sometimes a jarring change can happen and work because it's energetic. It fits the energy of that section. So, like I said, when we were working on it, and I was making arrangements with parts cut out of it to make it short, and it just didn't feel right. And both Dave and I looked at each other. He says, "Yeah, I really missed that part." Yeah, I do too. All right, let's put it back. It's like, I guess it's going to be 11 minutes long.
I mean, if it sounds good, and if it feels good for you, why change? Why? I mean, it's not that you're back in the day, you probably have to create songs that would play on the radio. There would have to be 3 minutes. Like today, it's still like that. A lot of the songs have to be like 3 minutes, need to start immediately with a chorus or with a vocal part. And it's crazy. I understand why they do it, but, I'm an old guy. I prefer, a good song, but it doesn't matter how long it is, as long as it's good. And I think that's all that matters. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's you're the kind of person that a composer would like to have in the audience. Is that approach? That's wonderful.
Yeah, and on this album we have some guests. Got Eric Johnson, John Petrucci. I mean, doesn't get much better than that. It could, but it doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm at Petrucci. I don't see how you can get better than him. I don't think it's possible. He's gotten to the point playing wise and kept it up. He keeps improving. Actually, he's to me he's the top of the heap. Not that there's a contest, but that I mean he's at the point now where I just can't figure out how he can do that so consistently and stay so incredibly sharp and musical. He's very. I saw him with Dave LaRue and Mike Portnoy doing his trio from his solo record just recently. It was awesome. Just really, this guy's something special. So when I heard Eric play in the 70s, we were doing Dregs gigs in Texas. And I saw him right after he left his band called the Electromagnets and was doing his solo thing. And we hit it off right away. I said, this guy's playing incredibly immaculate, just perfect, all the cliches, his tone is incredible and all that. But, we got to be friends right away. And later on, we did tours together when I was doing solo things, and he was out with his band. We did some shows together, and I love that. Anyway, I hate asking for favors. I'd rather do everything myself. But this was a case where I really needed, I thought, some influence, some outside influence, in order to make the album have the most variety and impact. And I said to both of them, I said, I don't know how many albums I got in me, that if they're every 16 years, this could be my last one, But would you consider playing on it? And Eric says, sure, man, sure, let's do it. So I wrote the tune for him. And, with the, I take a melody, he plays a melody, I do the melody like that and trade in the solos. And then we do parts together in harmony. So it was written as a duet. And of course he did a fantastic job. He's, Eric, as long as I've known him, I've never heard him play bad, ever. He always sounds so amazing. So that went so well. And then I finally got up the nerve to ask John. And John and I are friends, and we can talk about whatever without a problem. But asking for a favor is just really hard for me. I really do try to do everything myself, and so I just said, John, I hate to ask this, but I went through my spiel. Said, yeah, I'd be honored to. Yeah, I was told. That excitement he had was like, wow, okay. So I went about the process of arranging this tune for him. And the way I envisioned it working is that I was going to play part of the melody, he plays the other part and have it dovetail and fit perfectly. Then I play the other one where you almost can't tell that we're switching, but we're switching back and forth. And John got it immediately. He says, yeah, I see what you're trying to do. We'll make it work. Don't worry. When I got his parts back, it was perfect. It's like, yes, John did exactly what I was hoping it would do, and it does. It flows from one to the other so perfectly. He's and of course when he plays in solos, it's always jaw dropping.
Yeah, I saw them a couple Dream Theater like on this tour. I saw them twice, and I mean, you can't. I mean, the way he plays perfectly every night. It's. I don't know how he does it, but he does it. So.
Yeah, he practices. He practices, and he is aware of details. He takes care of details. I love to bring him up when I do teaching clinics. Is you can learn all kinds of different things, but do you have what it takes to consistently stay at this level and keep getting better? I can point to you one guy that I know that can do that. And that's John Petrucci. And this guy puts in the time. He puts in the time and the effort, and he's thinking all the time about, the best way to do this, the best way to finger that, the best way to technically accomplish this part. And when you're doing lines where Jordan has written fast lines, it makes it even harder because Jordan, on the keyboard, he can do stuff that's really hard on guitar. And of course, John writes stuff that maybe is a little more of a challenge for Jordan. I don't know. But between the two of them, they do some ridiculous parts. So
yeah,
he does it live as perfectly as it sounds. That's him. It's not a recording. It's him. And yeah, that's why I bring him up in the clinics, is that this is what you're shooting for. You may not ever get to that level, but this is what you should shoot for.
Yeah,
is being like John. I mean, be able to master everything and keep it up. Your level of attention and your dedication has to be at the top to do that.
Yeah. And one of the things about John Petrucci and about you as well, it's the recognizable guitar tone. I mean, I know that it's you that is playing, and I know when I hear a guitar, I know it's John Petrucci because it's a very unique kind of a tone. And for me, it's the same. I always use the Brian May from Queen example because he had a very unique tone. I mean, you can get the Red Special, you can get the delays, you can get the harmonizers, you can get the Vox amps. One thing you cannot get is the fingers and the brain. You can try to recreate everything, but you'll never sound like that guitar player because you don't have his brain and his fingers. And for me, it's always a pleasure when I listen to guitar players with unique tones. And I mean, it's a joy.
Well, thank you. That's cool. And I feel the same way. Is that my favorite players are ones who have a unique style, approach, and sound. And you're right, John. That's what I love about the arrangement of Triangulation is that you can hear as it goes. Steve's playing this part, then John's. That's John. Okay, can take a few notes, because we're trying to make the sound similar.
Yeah.
But yeah, you definitely know.
And just to wrap it up, I'm loving talking to you. But digital amps or valve amps? What is your take? What do you prefer? Where do you think it's the best?
Well, I have this one right here that I used at the John Petrucci teaching clinic because I could put it in my suitcase and take it to the with my clothes and still make the suitcase weigh on the commercial flight. And so I could turn the back from 20 watts to 5 watts to 1 watt to no watts and just plug it in into the board with the IR simulator. And I did that on the album when I switched from my 100-watt head, through a speaker cabinet and a ribbon mic. I switched from that to this back and forth to get some variety of the sound. And I didn't use any modeling amps or anything. I just used, my angles, because if I want to play clean, I can get either one of these amps to sound so clean that it's better than a direct guitar. So even I can plug the classical guitar into the clean channel and it works great.
Cool. And, just before I say goodbye, I just want to tell you that you wrote with Deep Purple one of my favorite melodies ever. Sometimes I feel like screaming. It's one of the most beautiful pieces of guitar I ever heard.
Wow, thank you. Well, Jon Lord has a lot to do with that because we were in the studio and I was playing. I was doing it as an arpeggio where you could hear the melody on top, but I was defining the chords with the notes. And it was just a little ditty that I was working on because I thought, maybe I could use that with my band, whenever I get around to recording something. And we were on a break. Everybody was getting coffee or tea. Not coffee, they drink tea. Everybody was getting tea. And I was playing this, and John came back with a cup of tea, and he sets it down by his organ, and he starts playing along with me. He said, do that again. I said, oh, okay. And I turned up my guitar. I was playing without the amp on. But he could play so quietly. He really had great volume control. But he, when I played through the amp, okay, he could hear it better, and he's playing along. He says, now try that again in F sharp minor. We did it. And I said, well, actually, I was thinking of extending it by doing this. And I showed him the idea. He says, yeah, I like that. And by the end of the day, we had that song recorded because John was the one who could hear something there. And the other guys were like, oh, man, can we just play rock and roll? And yeah, Jon Lord had that classical meets rock and roll connection. That's why we gelled so well. Yeah. When I first got with the band, that's John's improv with me was what was driving me to be laughing and smiling at the end of our jam session. I was like, wow, we haven't even gone through the set list yet. And I think this is going to work great.
Yeah.
So
I remember
that song is from Jon Lord being there and making it happen.
Yeah.
I had the idea and the melody and those chords, but it would have never happened if John hadn't stepped in.
Yeah, and I saw the Abandon tour that you guys did, 98 or 99. It was one of the best Deep Purple concerts I've seen. It was seeing you, seeing Jon Lord, it was, amazing experience anyway. It lives rent-free in my head, as they say. It was.
I miss him so much.
Yeah, it's I think that's one of the things that made Deep Purple special was actually Jon Lord. But anyway, Steve, thank you very much for your time. Love Triangulation, amazing record. It's great to see you make new music, especially instrumental music. Dave LaRue and Romaine, beautiful chemistry. hopefully you can bring that to Europe someday, and
I hope so.
we can experience that. Thank you so much for your time. All the
Thank
best,
you.
and I hope to see you soon. All right. Thank you. Thank you.